I'm interested to see what it does on the heels of that auction. That's the only one to kind of watch out for. I think people are going to start making some bets as we head into the NBA playoffs. So, welcome back to episode 623 of Lucas Tigers of Bronze. We have the Fractional Report, sponsored by Collectable. Before opening bell, did I get that right? Hey, Ian.
Nailed it. Ian says you got it right.
Good. So, how we doing, fam? We got a lot of data. We got a lot of info to talk about.
A lot of data.
We're kind of getting into we're getting into the fun part of the year. So, I think you guys listening to the episode today, whether you've been listening from day one, kind of came in the middle, or you're a new listener, I think there's going to be some value here for you guys. We're going to talk about modern, vintage. We're going to talk about basketball, soccer, all the way through. And before I start off, anything you want me, you look at the data as well. Anything you want me to cover, anything stuck out, anything, you watch the auctions like a hawk. So you know what ended last night. You know what PWCC Premier Auction is starting this upcoming week. So a lot of interesting stuff, Cage. Anything you want me to start off with?
No, I have one. I have one item. We can get to it, though. It's not, we don't have to lead off with it. But, there's definitely a lot of auctions, definitely a lot of things ending. Interesting to see, some things, ending higher than I thought they would. Some things ending a little, lower than I thought they would. But, yeah, I mean, listen, baseball. We've talked about baseball, for a while now, and now we're back and we're leading into baseball. And, hopefully, the folks who listen to this, who might have just been tuning in for this market report, listen to our show now. I mean, you did a whole piece about Acuna this week. And Acuna, the gold refractor that's been on here, it's just a card we've talked about probably, half dozen times as sort of like a leading indicator for, baseball. And Acuna himself hasn't really done anything. He was injured most last year, and he won World Series. He'll get a ring for it, but he hasn't gone and done anything out on the field yet. They just started spring training games. You'd like to hope. There's a lot of promise. We talked about in our episode, a lot of potential energy that'll turn into kinetic, right? But here you have, the way the markets trend. We had a buyout offer, right? Buyout offer, and then another buyout offer, right? 29,000 and then 35,000, and it's it IPO'd at 26,000 back in March of last year. One season,
speculation is what the word that comes to my mind.
Yep.
And dude, I think baseball investors, they're kind of used to that. If you know what I mean, like, if you even think about like the kind of the demo that invests in baseball, they take a lot of swings, man. You wouldn't be putting 500,000 into a Jason Dominguez card if you didn't think that 1 out of 10 of those would pay off. Seriously. It's not the same, in my opinion, as buying a Luka. Luka, you already seen something from the guy. I feel like the baseball investors are, they're home run hitters. Strikeout or home run.
Pretty much. That's baseball today, right? Strikeout or home run. I mean, that's kind of the same thing. I mean, you take your cuts at it, right? In baseball, you're an all-star if you write, 2.9% of the 2.9 out of 10 times, right? You bat 300 in baseball, 100%. You're an all-star. You don't wind up in Canton. So
I think that offer is going to get accepted. I really do.
The second one,
too much of a premium. Yeah. What is it? It's trading right now at 24,960, 25K. Yep. You're going to get almost 50% premium. The second buyout offers 35,000. I think it's hard not to take that for a guy who's done very, very, very little, respectively, for where he's priced at. Fair to say?
Oh, 100%. Definitely fair to say. He could have a breakout season. I mean, you talked about it. There's a lot less downside than there is upside for him, right? He's got a ring now. People will, spin the narrative. He didn't really win it, but it doesn't really matter. He has one. And if, the Braves go out there and perform this year, it's his team. Like, he's the clear-cut alpha on the team now. He'll get all the credit for their winning. And if he starts off slow, there's almost like a built-in safety net, because people will say, well, you got to give him time to come back. He's coming back from an injury. You got to get his legs under him, So, I think you hit the nail.
If he does what we think he does, where do you think this card hits? Let's say he has a 40-40 season.
I
1 year from
mean,
now.
I mean, 40-40 season, this card could be double what it's trading at now, easy. You know, it's trading at 25. It could be a $50,000 item, no problem. Maybe even more. 40-40, you know, that's a big deal. A lot of people, a lot of people don't realize that that's not done that often. You know what I mean?
I think if we see that, if we see the season that we've been promised, and a lot of people believe in Acuna, I think this is a Justin Herbert type of card for baseball. I think this is 120, 130. Oh,
Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff going for it. The golds in baseball, you know, the gold refractors are out of 50, not 10, like, like the Panini golds. People are used to gold being 10, but still, everyone loves gold.
it's
And
out of 50, but I'll tell you, I haven't ever seen all 50 out of just about anyone.
okay,
You
I'm
agree with
sure.
that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you won't usually won't see all 50 of them. I think you're 100% right about that. 100% right. So I mean,
Because
listen,
you can
talk.
number something to 50, Cage, but what if there's only 20 in circulation?
Well, there should be all 50, but you know they're not all going to be 9.5s like this one. That's part of what makes it even better. You know, when there's 50, that's actually a differentiator, right? When you only have 10 of them, you know, nines and tens, you know, there's only 10. Condition becomes a little less meaningful. Couple fun ones, right? The top three gainers. There's two I'll let you talk about, and one I'll
Thank you.
talk about, right? So you're the
I
soccer
already know
guy.
which ones.
Talk
Soccer
about
and
the
Kobe.
yeah.
Soccer, Kobe, and Clemente is yours, yeah?
Well, I'll talk about the bat. And I'll tell you what I think.
That's what I was.
You like
Well, the
Clemente,
Clemente.
but
Well, it's the Clemente bat.
uh
So just today, Erling Haaland came back, and it took him 8 minutes, a total of 8 minutes. I apologize, not 7. 8 minutes to score a goal. 8 minutes, and he's back. So the last week, there's a Topps Chrome Bundesliga basket of 10, which is really interesting because it kind of begs, like, asks you, like, there's a debate. Would you rather 10 base PSA 10s or, hypothetically, one gold, right? But this basket, it's 10 PSA 10s 2009 Topps Chrome Bundesliga Erling Haalands, and this one was up 65%. He was injured, and there's rumors of him going to Man City. Really big jump. He came back, scored a goal. I don't love with collectible having to invest in base. Like, I don't. If this was a gold, I would appreciate the opportunity in Haaland much
yes,
more than if this was a basket of base that's worth similar value.
I
So
understand.
pause there.
Yeah, no, you're right. Basket, right? It's weird, right? You know, the part of being fractional is you're investing in a piece of something. You know, with
Right.
this, it's already in pieces. That's the thing about the baskets. I like. Can I just throw a little fun thing on Haaland? You know me. I like to talk about investment. You know where I invest. I like the on field and then a little something extra. This week, I guess with him coming back, I think he was in a car. I saw a video of him being stopped to sign autographs, and he was like being pestered in his car. And you see like other players, they'll shoot people away or whatever it is. He like sat there in his car and signed everything that everybody put in. Someone handed off his phone and like stuck his head in his car with him. And Holland has the phone and he's taking like a selfie of him and the guy. That's cool. And I mean, maybe that changes after he becomes a huge star on a big team. And maybe he's still young, but for whatever the reason is, I like to see that. And if I'm investing in somebody, you know, that stuff matters. Especially when you're talking about like people putting their money into these guys. Maybe one of those people he just signed for, is going to tell that story or going to post it on Instagram. Maybe those people grow up and become crypto multimillionaires, and Erling Haaland is their guy, and they spend their money on his cards because he just made their year with this picture and this autograph. You never know. Those are the small things, the things that we talk about, with like, whether it's DiMaggio, Mantle, hey, you never know if this is someone's first time in the stands. A lot of athletes, a lot of celebrities, they don't do that. They don't take that second to be a good person. And just from the small thing that I saw, it looked like he was doing the right thing. So he has my gold star, my stamp of the Cage stamp of approval on investing in him.
So there's a great documentary about Haaland, and the interesting thing about him is he's been groomed to be a star since basically day one. If you look at kind of his background, he was raised in a really small town. I think like mean, the documentary is incredible, but he was groomed to be a star. Like he's always had that mindset. He was always the best player in his town. He always got a lot of the attention. So it doesn't surprise me that you say that. And I saw that video too. I think he's a lefty, right?
It looks like it. He's holding the camera with his right hand, I think. But it's funny.
All right, next one. The game used sneaks for code.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about them. They were down 30% last week, down 30% the week before. Basically regained all their value, and I think they rightfully should. I think it's just changing hands, right, Cage?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, listen, it went down and it comes back up. We've seen a lot of these with these memorabilia items, right? And this is one where we kind of talked about it. It's sold off, right? It just no reason sells off. People move their money into something else, and then boom, it just goes right back up.
It might be people who got in IPO, waited 90 days, want their money, they sell off, and then the following week, people are shopping, and investors look and they say that's a great value, and boom.
Yep. So the Clemente bat, I'm going to talk about bats overall just for 2 minutes, right? Because this was up 62% this week. I have a feeling this could be something that is ripe for a buyout. The bat segment, the game used bat segment, that's something that PSA is now like grading and focusing on. They've always kind of put authenticity, but now you got grades. This has a game used 9 PSA grade, so it's a PSA graded bat, which people have game used bats. There's not a lot of Clemente gamers out there, and you have this one here. It's linked to 65 to 68, and I believe Rally has a buyout offer right now for a Ruth bat. Now, obviously, Clemente, Ruth, different categories, but not that crazy of a comparison when you talk about game-used bats. Clemente has a rabid fan base also. So I look at that. I see that, there's movement in this asset class. There's movement in game-used bats. I think people are starting to look for these things. Smart collectors kind of jump on them, quickly. It's just one of those things where you don't see too many of them. And when you do see them, they sell for a lot of money. And when I see something like this, the movement like this, I think maybe somebody's trying to take a position in it, before a buyout. Maybe somebody is thinking about, hey, I want this. Maybe let me accumulate some of this stuff. So that's the kind of 62.5% to go up this week. That's that's quite a move. So
I love it.
Couple things. Talk about Brady and LeBron. Right?
What do you want me to say about
we talked about Brady last week, and it was the week of him unretiring, right? So, Brady unretirement impact. If anybody was, curious whether or not his unretirement, his I'm back, his I had enough time with my kids, I'm gonna go, run around with sweaty men instead. What was that going to do? It was going to make his stuff go down.
Did nothing.
It did nothing.
Basically did nothing, which is hilarious.
Yeah. So it did nothing, right? The SB Authentic was down about 3%. The Playoff Contenders ticket was up about 3%. The Bowman Chrome's up about 4%. The unopened box and the Contenders BGS basket basically flat, right?
My prediction
is
you're going to get a 20 to 30% sell off between now and the start of season. I think the only reason people were holding was to see if he comes back. Is there, another little bit of a run? But Brady's run so much, right? And between now and the start of the season, you're going to get either a sell-off or people holding and seeing, what's up. I don't expect much of an upside because of how much he's already run. You know what I mean? I think it's important to take into consideration. Brady's the best performing stock the last 12, 24 months.
Love it. I mean, Brady has had a run up. LeBron, right? So last week he had one of the more, weird records, write it on a basketball, 30, 10, 10, first player ever. He acknowledges it. He says he's the first one to do it. And, he is. I don't know why it matters. James Harden's going to do it one day too, and no one's going to care. So I don't know that it becomes such a huge stat. Russell Westbrook might do it, if he finds the basket again. Anyway,
people say Curry changed the game. I would say LeBron changed the game because there were no one. I mean, he was kind of the first point center. Like I know LeBron doesn't really play center, but he he plays the Draymond Green role. He really does. Or Draymond Green plays the LeBron role, maybe is a better way to put it. So he was a pass first guy who played in the center of the court, and he changed the game where 30,000, 10,000 assists, 10,000 rebounds, and he paved the way for a Luka. He paved the way for a Harden. He paved the way for these other guys who are going to set that milestone later. So he's a pioneer in that sense. No one played the game like LeBron.
You know what's funny? I think we're getting like a little bit of a week off here. I mean, people were crazy for March Madness this past week, right? So there was a lot of March Madness being talked about. We had the baseball news, which, people's attention moved over to baseball. There's a lot of soccer games being played. So LeBron stuff was basically flat. The Brady stuff was basically flat. Kevin Durant had a 56-point game, and his stuff really didn't move. His high school jersey came down a little bit. The chrome kind of stayed flat. I think we're in a weird time here where we have that build up towards baseball. People are focusing on March Madness a little bit, a lot of sports betting going on, maybe not as much attention being paid to the stuff here. So, not a crazy bump in what you would think, right? Durant having a crazy game. People are probably balancing that with the fact that the team still is barely making the playoffs. I mean, he scored 56, but the team itself is, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, basically.
You know what's annoying, Cage?
Shoot.
There's no other player in the league, I think maybe even ever, and I hate to say this, that you come to the playoffs, right?
Uh-huh.
He could just turn it on, brother. He could really just turn it on. I'm not saying he's going to. Let me make sure my words here are very, very clear. But he can. He definitely can. And I'll give you a 25% chance he just turns it on because he's that damn good. And even at 37 years old, he's so much more athletic. Now, I think that team sucks. I think Anthony Davis is made of glass. And I don't think Russell Westbrook is a good fit there at all. And I think Russ is kind of like played the second half of the season kind of defending his reputation because he doesn't fit so well. Mm-hmm. And I think he probably would have liked LeBron to step in and say, hey, we're figuring things out and all that stuff. But all that being said, I don't think anyone wants to play LeBron in the playoffs. I really don't, man. It's a tough matchup. He's a vet. It's his last go around. He's going to give it all he's got. So this 9 seed, it's interesting, right? A few years ago, they would be out. But now you win 2 games, you're in. And then, who do you match up with? The Suns without Chris Paul? I don't think they want to space him. The Warriors without, without Curry or with a limped Curry. The Grizzlies, even the Grizzlies full strength might not want to play the Lakers. So it gets really, really interesting. And then his cards might start running. They really might move.
All right. Well, so, I mean, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Any cards that stuck out for you, or can I jump into my one for this week?
Sure. Go for it.
So, guys, if you listen to our last week's episode and kind of the talking points that I've had a couple of times during the week, a lot of people like the episode to, return to blue chips, right? That flight to quality. We talked last week about, GOATs, about, Jerry Rice's cards going up and Joe Montana's cards going up and people, looking for that, those investments, those things to look at. There was a card that I thought of that I don't have. Well, let me take that back. I do have one in my collection, but I wanted an upgrade of the condition. I have a 5, a nice 5, but a 5. And I was looking at picking up an 8 this week. In the auction that ended in PWCC. And I didn't because it went slightly higher than I thought it would be, which is good news for the people who own this card or shares of this card in Collectable. It's exactly the kind of card that you probably should have been thinking about in last week's episode, but we didn't mention it by name. And as a result, it actually fell from $13 a share to $11.30 a share, market value of $41.6 down to $36.1. So it's currently trading at $11.30 a share with a market value of $36,160. And believe it or not, was one of the top 3 losers of last week, which surprised me because it checks a lot of boxes for me. And I'm talking about the Ted Williams 1939 Playball PSA 8. And last night, one sold on PWCC's premier auction and ended for $48,000. So think about that, folks. It was $41 to start last week. which would still be a bargain compared to this most recent sale, but it went from 41.6 down to 36.1. So if you just pull last week's charts up, you'll see that's the market cap on it. Nice card, good centering, nice card for for this one here. Pretty nice, left to right.
Wartime card.
I mean, it's a gorgeous card. It is his clear cut, card. It's his rookie card. And if you notice just the chart from last week to this week, it took a little bit of a dip, right? I mean, it definitely fell week over week. And when you're now looking at a $36,000 valuation against a recent sale at 48, it means the card is trading at 75% of what recent comps were. It means it's got a little bit of room to run. And I expect, people who are paying attention, people who listen to this show, and people who watch those comps, who saw that auction end last night, are going to realize that this is the kind of card we talked about and have been talking about. It's the kind of card that people will look to fill out their portfolios, to offset maybe that Acuna or something else that's more of a gamble, more of a potential risk with some upside. This one here now has traded down to a spot where I believe it's trading well below, a recent comp on the card. And if you go back in time, you'll see this card traded, significantly higher, last year. So 48 as a comp, while it's higher than I wanted to pay personally for the card, I don't think it is a high comp by any means. I think it's a reasonable price, especially given the fact that when we talked about record prices being set for, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, this is now a card from the 30s. This is now, pre-war, of one of the greats to ever play the game. And I mean, I don't know if it has the pop on the right up there. I'm pretty sure it was like 88 of these exactly in PSA 8. I think, right? Because I was researching it, for myself. Not that many higher, but like a dozen or so or something like that in the 9 and 10 combined.
You're just showing off now.
No.
88. You got both of those. You got those perfectly right. 88 PSA 8 and 12 PSA 9s.
So, I mean,
you're showing off.
It's a gorgeous card. It really is. It's a gorgeous card.
You knew those numbers.
I mean, what's funny about it is throw a little other wrinkle in there. I knew the numbers because I was looking at that card this past week. I didn't look it up now. But what's funny about it is this is a Boston guy. This is a Boston legend. And there are a lot of people in Boston who have done well in cards in the last couple of years. And would it be that nuts for a Brady fan who happens to have a bunch of contenders and Bowman Chromes and all that stuff and is taking a little profit on Brady to say, you know what, I have a ton of Bradys. Let me get some of the Red Sox greats in here. Let me go grab a PSA 8 Ted Williams and throw that on my Mount Rushmore of card collection on my slab shelf. So that's it.
That's a Mantle-esque card. That's just one tier right below Mantle. But if you look at a Mantle, I mean, Mantle 9 is 10 million now.
Yeah, probably. Maybe
Mantle 10 is 30. Yep. I mean, you have a Ted Williams here. A 9, okay, is probably 400,000, but an 8, 40,000, 50,000. I think to me the 8s are 100,000 plus card. You don't get much better than that. And it has the provenance. He's created his own card company. He went to fight in the war. All-American guy, one of the best players of all time. I love that card.
Not a lot of cards for him. I mean, he came back. Obviously, there are cards for him in the 50s. You can find cards for him in the 50s, but think about that. In the 50s, this card's from the 30s. That's like, comparing LeBron's rookie cards to like the LeBron Prism cards now. Sure, there are cards for LeBron, but there's a pretty big difference between his, 03 Chromes and his 18 Prisms. So, yeah, I mean, this was the one that stuck out to me, not only because it went down this past week, it also checks a lot of the boxes that we're talking about now and where money is flowing to. And it did have a recent sale last night, which was significantly higher. So this was the one that stuck out for me. I looked at the chart, I looked at the stuff, and, there was a lot of flat this week. A lot of stuff trading in a very tight range.
Yep.
Soccer on Haaland's back was up the most. But, I mean, basically, if you look across the indexes, basketball was flat, like down 0.2%. Baseball was up 0.5%. Football was up 3%. Hockey was completely flat. Golf down a little bit. Tennis flat. Boxing flat. Wrestling flat. Not a lot of stuff, crazy moving. The only other thing that was interesting to me is Kobe's sneakers that we just talked about. If you want to look for patterns out there, guys, the Kobe sneakers that were up 62% this week, the 2 weeks before had 30% sell-offs. The biggest decliner last week was also a pair of Kobe Bryant sneakers. It was the Kobe Bryant game-worn Air Jordan 12 sneakers. It was down 27%. So does that have the same type of pattern? Is it going to go down big time 2 weeks and then be bought back up? I don't know. It's just another one of those things that kind of stuck out, in my brain as,
1000%.
a little odd outlier on the chart.
So Mint Collective this week, I hope to see. Well, I hope a lot of you guys are going to be there. Cage is going to be there, moderating a panel, speaking, meeting a lot of people. So make sure to get to Vegas. If you haven't bought tickets, make sure to buy them. I'll wrap with this. I'm big on Giannis. I'm a believer on Giannis. The one thing that stuck out to me, that even though I'm a believer in Giannis, there's the PWCC auction of his 2013 Immaculate. PSA 10 sold for $70,000.
Yep.
That's a record for one of his cards that's an Immaculate. The thing is, the one that's on Collectable is a BGS 9.
Yep.
And that one's at 70,000.
PSA
So
9.
BGS 9. BGS 9.
Okay.
BGS 9. Yeah, I'm looking at it here.
Yep.
Or is that a gold? There, I apologize. Let me see something.
The gold premium patch is out of 10?
Yes. That one's trading at 70,000 as well, Cage.
Yep.
Make sure. So I'm interested to see what it does on the heels of that auction. That's the only one to kind of watch out for. I think people are going to start making some bets as we head into the NBA playoffs. Giannis is going to be the guy they bet on, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that card.
There you go. I know you like Giannis. I know you're a Giannis fan. And guys, just to kind of, round it all up here, the, from an IPO perspective, the NBA 50 greatest lithographs that we talked about a couple weeks ago has completely funded. That won't be open for trading until May 16th. That's when it comes up on the secondary. In the app, early access still going on. The 69 Reggie Jackson Oakland A's game worn and photo match jersey. The 78 Paul Molitor, the PSA 10. Those are cool cards. There's not a lot of those things. Your favorite exquisite triple logo man, Duncan Yao and Dirk, 1 of 1. I wonder whether or not, Drake's, coming in and looking for triple logo men, in flawless might, put some more attention on older triple logo men. He's looking for a LeBron. This one does not have LeBron. It's got a trio of interesting cats in it.
Base Craze was when I came in. Base Craze by Prism. It's like the stock of the player, and Logo Man. Logo Man was what was respected when I came in. I'm sure it still is, but I agree with you. It's going to have that trickle down effect of, well, if the celebrities are looking for Logo Men, even if it's a second or third tier player, I think they have value. I really do. That's another episode. We love you, Luca Nation. A little bit shorter.
30 more seconds.
30
Also,
more.
the Chrome Orange Refractor Kylian Mbappe BGS 9.5 is open in the app, and the 2021 Embiid 50, his first 50-point game is available. On the IPO front, a couple of them still have some room remaining. They'll probably sell out soon, especially the 2002 Panini sticker Ronaldo PSA 10. There's only 19% of that remaining. The 2016 Kobe Bryant game-worn Black History Month photo match sneakers, there's 30% of that remaining. These last two will probably sell out this week. The 68 Milton Bradley Nolan Ryan PSA 9 has 14% remaining, and the Sandy Koufax PSA 8 with only a 42.5 market cap has 13% remaining. That's another card that I think also fits into the same kind of flight to quality. Love your shirt. I originally thought it was Kid Cudi. I thought it was like a Pursuit of Happiness, but it's not. It's D-Rock. D-Rock branded. Kid Cudi.
Why did you do this?
Because he plays for Barca.
Barca smashed Madrid today. 4-0.
Barca's back. They are back. They are back.
Do you know why?
Madrid hasn't had a good team since Luka played there. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Do I know why?
Another episode.
I don't know why. Tell me why.
Well, do you know Xavi? Remember Xavi and Iniesta and Messi? You never
Xavi,
heard of Xavi?
Iniesta, and
Well, he's like
Messi.
Xavi's like a Barcelona great, and they brought him back as manager. And ever since they
Xavi,
brought him back as manager, they've just been effing shit up.
cup of Xavi. I mean, listen, light week on the IPO front. Only Charles Barkley game one Suns jersey where he scored 56 is the only one coming up IPO on Tuesday. And then we got Mint Collective. So we got Javi, we got Barca, we got Kid Cootie. He's got the cooties. And it's all about happiness. Andrew's got the happiness sweatshirt. Enjoy. Guys, we hope you get a value out of this. We'll throw it out there. Obviously, you get it before the opening bell. As another episode of Collectable, the Fractional Report brought to you by Collectable before the opening bell. We're having some fun. See you at
Love you,
mid,
Liquor
guys.
Nation.